It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon in the heart of downtown Chicago. Most people hurried inside with their coats soaked and umbrellas dripping. But inside the cozy little diner tucked between two towering buildings, the warmth of brewing coffee and clinking silverware wrapped around the customers like a blanket. It was an ordinary day for most. But not for Ava. Ava, a 26-year-old waitress with tired eyes and a heart bigger than the city itself, wiped down tables between taking orders. She had been working double shifts to help pay for her younger brother's medical bills. Life hadn't been kind, but she wore a smile like armor. The regulars loved her, not just for her service but for the way she remembered their names, their favorite meals, and always offered a kind word. That afternoon, something unusual happened. A man in an expensive suit entered the diner. His shoes glistened, and his tailored coat looked out of place in the humble setting. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't the man, it was the boy in the wheelchair beside him. The boy was maybe 7 or 8. His head hung slightly to one side, his arms twisted, and his eyes barely focused. His breathing was labored, and a feeding tube was discreetly taped near his cheek. The man wheeled him in with gentle hands, ignoring the stares. Ava noticed the boy immediately. She walked over with her usual grace, smiled, and said, "Welcome to Rosie's Diner. Would you like a booth or a table near the window?" The man looked up, slightly surprised by her warmth. "A booth, please. Somewhere quiet." As she guided them to a corner booth, Ava noticed how protective the man was. Every motion was careful, almost reverent. She placed menus down and said, "I'll be right back with some warm water and crayons. Kids love to draw here." The man gave a small, surprised laugh. "He doesn't draw. Or speak." "That's okay," she replied gently. "But color brings smiles, sometimes." Ava returned with a warm smile, a cup of hot cocoa with whipped cream, and a small plate of soft pancakes cut into tiny pieces. She hadn't taken their order yet. She just brought what felt right. The man looked confused. "We didn't order yet." "I know," she smiled, kneeling beside the boy. "But this one looked hungry. And I thought he might like these." With careful fingers, she fed the boy a spoonful of pancake. He struggled, but he smiled, a tiny twitch at the corners of his lips. The man sat in stunned silence. For the next 10 minutes, Ava sat and gently fed the boy, speaking softly, telling him he was handsome, brave, and that the rain would stop soon. The boy responded with occasional sounds, not words, but enough. The man watched, emotion rising in his eyes. "Do you know who I am?" he finally asked. Ava glanced up. "No. Should I?" He smiled faintly. "Most people do. My name is Richard Callahan." The name landed with a thud in Ava's mind. Richard Callahan. The billionaire tech mogul, the CEO of Callahan Systems, a man whose name appeared on magazine covers, news headlines, and Forbes lists. But here, in a quiet booth, he was just a father. "This is my son, Noah," he said quietly. "He was born with cerebral palsy. The doctors said he wouldn't live past 5. He's 8 now." Ava looked at the boy and smiled. "He's a fighter." Richard's voice broke. "You didn't flinch. Most people look away. Or pity. But you didn't. You fed him, talked to him, treated him like he mattered." She looked down, a bit embarrassed. "Because he does." That moment stayed suspended in the air. Richard stood slowly. "Thank you, Ava." He paid for their meal and left a tip so large Ava had to sit down. $10,000. She was stunned, tried to run after him, but he was gone. The next day, reporters showed up. Cameras. News vans. The diner was flooded. Rosie, the owner, thought they were in trouble. But they weren't. Later that week, Ava received an invitation. A handwritten letter from Richard Callahan himself. He invited her to his company headquarters. When she arrived, dressed modestly and nervously clutching her purse, she was greeted by Richard and a dozen of his board members. "Ava," he began, "I've been in hundreds of meetings, hired thousands of people, but I've never seen anyone with your heart." He handed her a folder. Inside was an offer letter. Director of Compassion Initiatives. A brand new department he created in his company. She would oversee community outreach, care initiatives, and staff training on empathy. "We build tech that connects the world," he said. "But sometimes we forget how to connect as people. I want to change that. And I need you to lead it." Tears welled in Ava's eyes. She thought of her brother. The hospital bills. The sleepless nights. And now, this? She accepted. Her first act as director was to organize an annual fundraiser for children with disabilities, hosted at the diner where it all began. That evening, she returned to Rosie's diner. The booths were full, the walls adorned with photos of Ava and Noah, and a plaque near the entrance read, "In honor of kindness without conditions." Richard Callahan spoke at the event, his voice firm yet emotional. "The world talks about power, money, success," he said. "But true greatness is feeding a child no one else sees. Ava reminded me that in a world full of ambition, we still need kindness." The story went viral. Millions watched the video of Ava feeding Noah. Social media exploded. People from around the world wrote letters, sent donations, and promised to do better. But for Ava, it wasn't about the fame or the fortune. It was about Noah. She visited him every week. Fed him. Read stories. Watched movies. They became family. And in the quiet moments when the world wasn't watching, Ava would sit beside Noah, hold his hand, and whisper, "You're the reason everything changed." Because sometimes, one small act of compassion can create a ripple so vast, it changes lives forever.